What's up everybody, Gentleman94 here. Welcome back to What Should Ben Build Next? Today we are looking at the last candidate here, and this is going to be probably one of the hardest models in the entire lineup, but it's also one that I would really enjoy building. So let's take a look. This is the F-105D Thunderchief. This is a Vietnam era fighter bomber. This is one of my favorite Vietnam era aircraft. This is the F-105D, so this is a single seat version. This is the one that you usually see in any sort of Vietnam War footage. You usually see the F-105s, the Thuds, as they used to call them. So let's take a quick look what's inside the box. It's another Hobby Boss kit, so we're going to be greeted with a nice color printout here of the two different types of markings we can do for the F-105. And this one actually has a little bit of nose art, which is interesting. It might win just for that fact alone. You never know. Instruction booklet here. Instruction booklet looks pretty nice. You know, not too bad. Strangely enough, though, no numbers. It's just a smattering of substeps. So doesn't have really a logical flow to them. Pretty sure I'm not liking these instructions as much as the others. And there's a lot to build here, like the entire inside of the engine. But it goes through the usual cockpit, engine, landing gears, weapons, fuselage, wings, all that stuff. It comes with ordnance, which is nice. Sometimes some of these other aircraft don't have any weapons on them. Let's go ahead and pull the box here and let's take a look at these. Again, I have opened up the plastic bags and looked at the parts themselves, but I haven't built anything in the model yet. So here's the fuselage. As you can see, this is a pretty big aircraft. Here's a second section here. So you can kind of line these up a little bit, and you can notice that, yeah, it's going to have air brakes sticking out the back, about like that. And it'll probably have the front nose cone, which is right here, sticking out about that much with, you know, another, I don't know, with the pilot probe and the tip of that. So this is going to be a pretty decent sized aircraft. It's just a big, big aircraft. It's a little scary to build something this big. I built an F-4 Phantom, but this looks even bigger than the Phantom, to be honest. So the plastic itself is decent plastic. It's a little heavy riveted, though. I will have to say there's a lot of surface detail. It's all recessed, so if you wanted to, you could try to mask it by maybe overshooting it with some sort of a top coat. But overall, it's got nice surface detail, some raised, mostly recessed panel lines. It's got the provisions here for the mid-air refueling probe and for the 20mm Gatling gun, which is kind of cool. Might be kind of fun to have that displayed open. The wing sections here, there's a lot of little itty-bitty pieces for the flaps and for the front slats, for the air brakes and dive brakes and all sorts of things here. So that's kind of cool. A lot of those would be individually placed, so it could be very time-consuming. Other end of the wing here, it looks pretty good. Let's check this out. Here's the rear tail and the vertical tail. All right, and this is where it starts getting pretty major here. This is the engine. This aircraft has a huge amount of parts and pieces to make the engine, and my issue is you can't see the engine. Maybe if you had like a stand you could build, display the engine on the outside of the aircraft, you'd be fine, but this is all inside, so you're not going to see a single bit of the engine itself. You might see the tailpipe, but that's it. So all of this stuff is pretty much wasted. Here's the centerline drop tank. And then you have your weapons. So you have your free fall unguided bombs and your bullpup missiles. I'm not sure if I like these tips of these bullpups. We might have to change that out a little bit. And then we have our ejector rack as well. So that should be cool. Here is the canopy. Decent looking canopy. There's only two pieces here, so pretty easy to mask. It doesn't look too bad. So we'll just put all these back in the box. I actually did rip a hole in the bottom of the box, so that's what the blue tape's for. Overall, though, this kit would be a lot of fun to make. It would be a big, big kit. It would be tall, too. If you want to see something a little more modern, this would be the one to go with. If you're going to vote on any of them, this probably would be the one, because this is a more modern rendition. It's not so antiquated or old-fashioned. This model kit actually has two different versions that you can make, one of which has a little bit of nose art on the front cover. Now, the nose art here on the decals is yeah, pretty much just your average woman, very strategically placed with one of the mid-air refueling probes. Not going to go into too much detail on that. You can use your imagination. But let's just say that the mid-air refueling probe was steered into a very questionable area. That's why she is in the position that she's in on the nose. Now, whether or not you think it's objectification or you approve or disapprove, that's really not going to be an issue right now because we're just looking at a subject here. That's all. We're not talking about anything else other than that. So I actually like this version a little bit better because of the large white lettering, and you see that a lot in Vietnam era aircraft. You see big white lettering hanging off the tail. This one here doesn't have that, which is a little strange. But everything else though looks really good. You have your center console decals, very small, low profile American markings there. A lot of stencils, things like that. This is probably the hardest kit that I've given options to build. It's a 3-color scheme. You know, you got your light green, your dark green, and your brown. That's basically the 105. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about references. For the 105, I only have one reference book. This is a Squadron Signal publication book, something I used to have when I was a kid. These books were, I wouldn't say throwaway, but they were just a brief history about certain aircraft. They usually go through the major production lines. So this goes through all the way from the prototype up to the 2-seater G versions, and it covers Vietnam. It covers anything you could think about with the Thunderchief. Doesn't go into as much detail, but it's going to be enough to get me going in the right direction. So this is going to be a good book to have here in the library that we can use. It's going to have pictures and things that we can really use to go ahead and build this up and make tweaks and changes here and there. One thing this also has here in it is the Thud in Vietnam. It talks about what the 105s did, how they operated. So it's got some battle damage pictures, which are interesting. I'm not going to say I'm going to do any battle damage on my aircraft, but it kind of gives you an idea that these things were rough. These things were handled roughly by the North Vietnamese. So a little bit of scraping, a little bit of chipping would be perfectly fine on this. So the finish itself is going to be difficult to master, but I would love to give it a shot. Again, I mean, if you guys like the look of this model, by all means, give me a vote. Let me know what you think. That's about it, though. That's all we have. Now it's up to you guys. If you could let me know what you'd be interested in me building, that is going to be awesome. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's not an easy thing to do, but thank you. And we will see you back here on the next Ben Builds. We'll see you soon.